Okay, let's start by cleaning up our bot folder a little bit. There are a few things here that we're not going to need, like this welcome component. We can also get rid of the catch-all, hi, and the welcome component, or flows. Okay, now let's go into the default.yaml file and update the name of our bot to pizza bot. For fun, let's also update the avatar to this, which is an image of a pizza slice. It looks like this. I'll save my changes. And let's update the welcome message. So if we go to openpage.yaml, this uses a special trigger called openpage. So if you're using the orb integration, whenever the user opens the page, this will be triggered and it will say, hey, welcome. But we're going to update that. So now it will say, hi, I'm PizzaBot. I can help you order pizza. We're also going to be using quick replies throughout our bot. Quick replies are like buttons, and when you click on the button, it's as if the user typed the text that's on the button. And we can also have some actions associated with the button click. So in this case, it's going to launch a different flow called order. And I'm also going to hide the text composer. This means that the only way for the user to interact with the bot is by clicking on quick replies. And if we were to make this bot more advanced, we would use something like Dialogflow or WIT, which are natural language understanding providers. And they would let you interpret the user's text. So they could say whatever they want, and Dialogflow or WIT would try to guess what the intent of the user is. And then you could launch different flows based on that. But we're going to keep this really simple and just use sort of a menu-driven approach using quick replies. I'll save that file. Also, one thing that you want to be really careful of is white space. So you'll notice these lines indicate indentation. So if you do something like this, it's not going to work. These hyphens here are important. They indicate steps in the flow. So if I did this, that's not the same, as well as this. So just make sure that you have everything nested properly. Let's go ahead and create the order flow. So in the same folder, I'm going to create a new file called order.yaml. And I'm copying this code from the doc page that you're probably looking at. So what's going on here? It looks like there's a lot of code, but it's actually pretty straightforward. We're using an ask component, which lets you prompt the user for some input. And again, I'm hiding the composer, so they have to click on one of these text replies. And when they select a reply, it's going to put some data on FlowScope. FlowScope is a place where you can store information temporarily. So I'm going to store the size of the pizza and the price of the pizza. Next up, we're going to create some new variables on FlowScope. We'll initialize an empty list as well as a message for the user. Next up, we'll prompt the user with another ask component, but this time instead of hard coding in some text, we're referring to our variable. So the first time the user sees this, it's going to say, what ingredients would you like to add? Here they can select their ingredients. And then we update our list of ingredients. So we say the existing empty list plus this new list. So we're merging two lists together. We're also going to update our message. So now instead of saying what ingredients would you like to add, we'll say here's what we have added, and we'll join together the list of ingredients. And then we'll ask the user what else they want to add. We're using a jump component to jump to a label. So in parentheses here, this is a label, add ingredients. So after the user has added one ingredient, it's going to jump back up and prompt them to add more. And this is going to keep looping until they click the done quick reply. And you can see that it's going to launch a jump action that takes us to a different label called get user info. That label is down here. And it's going to launch a different flow. This is a subflow. So we haven't created this flow yet. That's the next one we'll do. But it's going to go into this other flow, get the user's personal information like their home address and their payment method, and then it's going to return here. We're going to use a different component to summarize the user's order. So you can see we'll have the size, ingredients, whether or not it's for delivery, their home address, payment method, and the total. And then they can submit their order. When they do submit their order, we're going to use a custom component to send that order via an API call. So this is a component that we'll create in another video. All right, let's go ahead and create the get user info flow. I'm going to copy our code into it. And this is very similar to the previous flow. We're asking questions, offering quick replies. We're storing their response to particular variables on flow scope. The one difference is their address, which we're storing to the user scope. So why are we doing this? The user scope is great for information that's not going to change that often. So the user's email address, their name, their home address, those are great things that you might want to store on user scope. Flow scope is temporary. So as soon as this flow ends, that information is lost. In this case, we're actually going to pass that flow scope information to the parent flow. So you'll remember that our order flow called this flow. So when this flow ends, we're going to return to the parent flow. And we want to make sure that our flow scope information is passed back to the parent. All right. In the next video, we'll create the component